next guest that I'm going to bring up on the show has been a long time NetApp A-Team member. He's one of my favorite people, and I just moved my mic. That's fun. Mr. John Woodall. John, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Man, thank you. What a great first day keynote.
No kidding.
I mean, I've heard a lot of them as longtime NetApp partner, longtime NetApp A-Team member. Great stuff. I can't wait for day 2.
Oh yeah.
So good.
I can't spoil anything.
They teased us.
They did a little dangle, little carrot dangle
I
out
want
there.
The meal.
Yeah. We're ready to feast.
That's
right.
for
sure. Today the theme is AI.
Yes.
Everything that George talked about, everything that Chris mentioned, everything that the customers and partner guests mentioned, AI all the time. And I think there's a point to that. And I want to see if you feel
important. Is that a thing?
It's got something to do with data.
Yeah, it's something.
So there's this theme developing that I've heard play out several times before. It happened with cloud.
Yep.
It happened with, you could go back to the convergence of unifying protocols with storage, right?
Yeah.
It's data.
Yes.
And one of the things that I told Jeff at the beginning is no data, no AI.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm curious to hear your perspective on what's going on in the industry.
Yeah.
How are customers receiving this?
Yeah.
How are people taking it up? Is there resistance to it? I'm just kind of give me your general thoughts around things, Riley. State of the union.
I mean, if you're like me, I can't go probably an hour a day without seeing something pop up somewhere in all the feeds that I have on AI. And everyone's focused on these hero numbers, what we hear at GTC, XAI, X, and so on. And that's right. But George alluded to it. It's the largest companies in the world that are doing it.
Yeah.
And I think there's a continuum for customers. The bulk of customers are somewhere on this journey. And if you there's a partner here that uses this model, AI curious, AI ready, AI mature.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Right. And I've talked to people across the spectrum. The ones that are on maybe their second, third, whatever generation of DGX infrastructure, they've built models, they have staff, they know what they're doing, they have the tooling. That's similar to a lot of the enterprise deals you do for standard applications. There's sizing, there's availability discussions, and they're trying to get in the queue for H100s and 200s. At the other end of the spectrum, people know this is important.
Yeah.
2032, $16 trillion is the economic benefit that's forecast from AI.
Wow.
Right? 20% increase in the U.S. GDP. There's real business value, and people have latched on to that. iPhone 16 announced, iOS 18 will in the next release, AI built in. So people are becoming very comfortable with using it, but in the enterprise, it's not just as like, let me just fire up ChatGPT.
Right.
They want to go build something of value to their business, get a return on their investment.
Yep.
And so if you start from the people that are just starting and curious, and now they're ready, what I heard today, and it's just such a nice segue of what's next with NetApp, is the data. I hadn't heard the statistic George used. 80% of the time is spent on data prep, cleaning, dedupe, and all of that. Curation of the data.
Yep.
It's a staggering number.
Yep.
Large language model failure rates during AI training runs, 56%.
We got a little ways to go.
So, like cloud, when it first hit, there's a lot of learning curve. And I think that's where most people are at in the industry, is figuring out where do they start, what do they do, and how should they envision their return on their investment. The technology does matter.
Yeah.
And what I heard today is kind of mind-blowing. I wish I could pop up the emoji with the head going off, because what NetApp provides in de-siloing, just around the data itself, Explorer, be able to go in and by policy identify compliant data, PII, and make sure that your inferencing is getting only the data that you want. To do that without NetApp is multiple solutions, complexity, and cost. You're a NetApp customer, you get it. It's incredible value and simplifies the discussion.
Yeah.
We'll hear more about platforms, we always do. But, I think you find people along this continuum, and the challenge is to meet them where they are and help them progress as makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's just the highest level view, but I think it's a realistic view of where customers are. Some are there and love having those customers. They spend a lot of money, right?
Well, they're probably also very good stewards of all their data.
They've
and have
gone
spent
through
the
that.
time over the decades curating it properly, archiving it properly, preparing it for whenever this day would come.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be a start. Listen, anytime we have a new technology vector arrive, there's two things that always come up: technical debt and skills gaps. And I think
You're
AI
not talking about VMware, are you?
Not at all. Or cloud. Not at all.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see that yet again, and that's going to be something that every institution, every company is going to have to deal with. Every CIO and IT director out there at the foundational levels are going to have to deal with that to some extent. But I think there are ways that ONTAP can help make this easier.
Absolutely.
It's one of the things I was just talking about with Mr. Baxter a second ago. ONTAP makes this easier by doing a lot of that heavy lifting for you, so that you can get on about, and then you just end up accessing an API.
Well, and I'll go back to the silo concept. You look at the average enterprise, they have multiple storage platforms for any number of reasons. Some make sense, some I don't think do. When you start thinking about the amount of data, having the tools that NetApp provides through the Blue XP interface, the tools that have been in ONTAP for a really long time, the autonomous ransomware detection, prevention, and recovery tooling, keeping that data safe from bad actors. There's a lot there.
Yeah.
You don't have to look further. And so I have two guiding principles I like to think of with customers. Optimize everywhere, modernize everything. You typically have to do it on budget cycles or from a project cycle, but you have to have that end state in mind of how do I simplify the infrastructure? And I love that George referenced the data fabric from when that started.
Love it.
Because we've been extending the network and VMs for years. But until you extend not just the storage, but the data management and the data services that go with it, the platform around
the
data.
metadata layer on top of it.
All of that. When you can extend that to wherever you need to that makes sense for your business, now you've truly created a full data fabric. Now you lay on top of that an AI workload. Being able to take it from, taking good care of your data, cleaning, prepping, all of those steps, having the same storage, having multiple tiers of performance and cost, being able to tier, being able to take a snapshot, flex clone it, and have a set of developers start a regression cycle off of a gold standard for almost no space in very quick time. Don't move data if you don't have to. It's expensive.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that have been inherent to the NetApp platform. It's not a storage device. It's a platform that enable efficiency and flexibility. Anyone else, they might do the storage piece, but then you have to add in additional solutions to make a complete platform around your data. NetApp has provided that, and what I heard George commit to today, the best one, bar none, down the road.
Yeah.
And so the journey continues. I've been watching it I heard you and Jeff talking about the unification, 2002, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got files. Now we got file and SAN, right? And then the cloud virtualization hit, and then the cloud took off, now multi-cloud. And now I find ourselves in the era of data and AI and intelligence. And the value proposition has never been stronger. And I would say simplify with NetApp around the data platform. Leverage the ecosystem that you already invest in with NVIDIA, with Cisco and others around the rest of the stack. Automate heavily, think of infrastructure as code. A lot of this, I'm still thinking through Explorer.
It looks amazing.
I went, we need to learn more on this.
So so we can't talk about industry trends with AI without talking about sustainability. I'm going to throw you a little bit of a curveball because I think a lot of this plays into that argument as well when it comes to sustainability. When you can unify, you're reducing footprint, you're reducing floor tile space, power consumption, cabling needs, all of the above.
Density of your storage. It's going to be flash for AI. Let's just not fool around. We can tier differently. The flash is going to be TLC or QLC flash. C-Series is a great fit. Well, that's going to continue, getting better and denser. Blue XP gives you your actual, not spec data, but what your actual consumption is, and guided steps to improve your scores.
Yeah.
It's something that every public company in the U.S. has to deal with. I heard Elon Musk in an interview with Bosch earlier this year, and they were talking about scaling in AI. And he's one of the few that have a really good view of it. There were 3 things he highlighted. The 10x growth of performance that we're seeing from NVIDIA in every 6 months won't continue forever. The next thing is step-down transformers.
Yeah.
Then it's the power grid.
Yep.
And so you can change, your individual company's scores by going to a more efficient data center. Pick a colo, pick a cloud. But beyond that, things have to change. Will we see large language models pervasively? No. Will we see small language models? A lot more.
Yes.
Well, that reduces the infrastructure footprint and cost. So I think there's going to be, just like with cloud, we saw a lot of learning over the first few years as we figured out what was the best practice. Some things didn't exist. We had to find new innovation. That all came in. It's like going to the moon with John F. Kennedy's famous speech. We're going to do this. No, we're going to do this. And this is one of those moments in tech.
Well, fun question to throw at you with that. What do you think of Microsoft buying and firing up 3 Mile Island? You heard about that?
Yeah, I did.
Is that what it's going to take to do all this AI,
Bill
John?
Gates and others are doing startups for small nuclear.
Yeah.
If you figure the U.S. Navy can safely run nuclear submarines for how many decades?
Yeah.
Why can't you have a nuclear something right next to your data center? There's some startups in that space that are really interesting around creating, it's material science and no moving parts, creating an environment where solar radiation will heat these blocks in a container.
Oh, wow.
To like a really high, thousands of degrees temperature, but through heat transfer, they can generate megawatts of power.
Yep.
And it's clean.
Yep.
So, again, these are just some of the innovations and efficiencies that have to happen, because if the enterprise everybody wants to run on a GPU-accelerated compute environment, the grid's not going to support it.
I have one of those at home.
Yeah. Do tell.
It's an RTX video card. It's not a full stack of H100s. Okay.
But it heats the house in the winter, right?
Yeah, it does. It does actually, which doesn't turn out to be power efficient at all. I've come to find out. No, because natural gas is much cheaper. No, I look at this as, I think one of your points, I think there is an opportunity for innovation in nuclear to the point that we could scale it down to the point where, I don't know, I'll say something crazy. Could you have a small fusion reactor in your garage, in every home? Like, I think we could get it to that point 10, 20 years out from now.
Yeah, if you're not thinking 3 Mile Island scale. I'm not doing the metropolitan area. With solar took off, we've all got the experience of ourselves, our friends who are off the grid. They make a little money.
Yeah.
Tesla has that in their Powerwall business. No plug for it. I think there is an opportunity for at least the enterprise or commercial real estate, colo providers, et cetera, to look at multiple new power sources that are more green. But yeah, we've got to figure out how to supply power to this. That will be a gating item.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of the discussions, especially at the mature end of that scale I was referring to. Okay, let's be honest. A superpod is over a megawatt of power.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, I can cable it. I can design my data center because the design engineering is different for that type of scale for GPU compute. Do I have enough power?
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, some do, some don't.
Some don't. Yeah.
I mean, Meta's talking about 600,000 GPUs.
Yeah, and no amount of windmills is going to generate that much power for us.
So we have to have something that's got a lot of power generation capability that we don't have today. I think we'll go fine for a while, but when the enterprise, and this is what Gartner talks about, 2023, early 24 was the peak of enlightenment on their hype curve for generative AI. Now we're in the trough of disillusionment, where we're trying to figure out supply chain, power, how do what's happening in the software side, the model side, and to get to the business results. And then the next step is the spend starts. But it's going to be the enterprise, not just the Fortune 100, if you will.
Yeah.
And if we can't solve some of these problems,
Yeah. Well, John, thank you so much for
My
the time.
pleasure.
I really appreciate it. I love this conversation.
Yep.
I think that you can't have the AI conversation without having the data conversation, without having the sustainability conversation.
Exactly.
I think it's all encompassing when you have to do that kind of stuff. And I think one of the practical things that we're going to see come out of all of this innovation around AI is I think it's going to breed some innovation around sustainability. I think we're truly going to crack that egg and figure out how to really do sustainable power long term because of it.
Yeah, it becomes a completely holistic discussion, just got larger.
Yeah.
Right, so great talking with you, Nick.
Thank you so much, John. I really appreciate it, man.
My pleasure.
Take care.
See you later.